It's Friday, and that can mean only one thing. It's time for Growth Profits, the show that comes to you every single week, where today we're going to talk about you need to stop discussing and start finding solutions. We'll talk about it. Stay with us. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
You got one shot at this life.
Why would you not make it the best that it can be?
This show comes to you weekly about happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride.
Let's get started.
And welcome back to Growth Profits, the show that comes to you every single week with ways for you to have, as you know, happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. What are we talking about today? Stop discussing and start finding solutions. Why is this important? Why are we even talking about it? Because you know what? It is the number one challenge that we run into all across the United States. What do we mean by discussing? Well, if you're not hitting the results in your particular genre, if you're not reaching your potential across the goals that you've set for your business, but yet the importance of having meetings, and so you're coming to the meetings. Here's the problem: your focus is in the wrong place. You're focusing on discussing, and discussing means this, and here's what we see on a regular basis. Maybe there's a challenge with whatever the situation is. Maybe you need new clients. We could really pick an issue. But you need new clients. So you come to the table, and instead of making that time that you've set aside for this meeting all about finding solutions, here's what happens. And you know that you fall into this category, right? You come to the meeting and somebody says, man, we have got to do a better job of getting some new blood into this business. We got to do a better job of attracting new clients or new patients or new customers. And then somebody goes, well, the problem is fill in the blank. And somebody else goes, well, and to add to that, the other problem is fill in the blank. And then there's all sorts of conversation and discussion around that. And then somebody else goes, well, in the past we tried this, but that didn't work. And then somebody else throws their 2 cents on that. And before you know it, you've gone down the discussion road. And going down that discussion road, before you know it, you look at your watch, you go, holy mackerel, we spent an entire hour discussing this conversation, and all we've really done is define, redefine, further define the problem. And we've not spent an ounce of focus on what the actual solution is. And chances are, most of the time, in the process of defining and redefining what the problem looks like, if you're not careful, you end up going down these rabbit holes of things that aren't even related to the particular challenge that was brought up in the first place, and then the whole meeting is just a complete waste of time. And you leave the meeting and you're going, okay, what the heck was that? You got nothing, right? So this is a challenge that we see on a regular basis. Whether it's a dental office, whether it is a sales professional business, whether it is an HVAC company, a CPA firm, a law firm, whatever the situation is, here's what we run into. Number one, folks see the value in meetings. Number two, meetings are completely worthless because it's all about discussion. My business partner and I were in a dental practice the other day, and these guys do a great job. Let's call him Dr. John. You like that, Mr. Producer? This is Dr. John, okay? So now Dr. John, you get a kick out of that, don't you? Dr. John, these guys have great intentions, awesome team, and they have meetings every single day. And so they're always bringing to the table challenges, but they fall into exactly the same situation that we're talking about right now. So just the other day, we were visiting one of their daily meetings. And somebody brought up the issue of, we've got a lot of cancels and no-shows. Man, we have got to do something about that. And just like I explained a moment ago, somebody said, well, the problem is we're a little bit short-handed at the front desk because we got this new computer system that we've just implemented. And then before you know it, we're off through the races and we're down the 15 minutes of a rabbit hole talking about the new software and what all of that means. Somebody else tries to bring it back on track. Well, when it comes to cancels and no-shows, one of the other problems we have is, in addition to being short-handed with this new treatment plant, this new software that we have going on, the other problem is, we've had this weather happening, right? Guess what? There's another 15-minute rabbit hole that we're going down talking about all the snow and the crazy weather and the rain and the flooding and all of this has happened in the last month. After all of that discussion, before you know it, we got 15 minutes left in the meeting, and there's not been one single iota of energy given toward what is the actual solution. Now, the good news is these guys understand that, and the purpose for our visit was to find opportunities. So what you and I should talk about is, if you're having these challenges, what are some things you can do about it? There's 3 big things that you need to focus on a regular basis. Number 1 is this. What we're talking about is you got to stop discussing. You got to start finding solutions. The first thing that you need to do to get rid of the discussion is allocate somebody to be what I would call a facilitator. Now, this person's role is extremely important. And if you are the facilitator on your team for our meetings, then there's a couple things that you really need to be focused on. Number 1, you've got to be comfortable to stop the momentum of the meeting in the moment. You got to be comfortable to jump in and go, wait, guys, can we get back to the issue? What is the solution, right? One person talking at a time. Your job as a facilitator is to make sure that you only have one person talking at a time. Your job as a facilitator is also, don't get caught up in the subject matter, right, that's in front of you. Put your focus on the dynamics of what's happening. Are we on track? Are we off track? And your job as a facilitator is to make sure that we're on track. And again, that means you've got to have whatever it is that you need to be comfortable to jump in the moment. If you need permission from everybody, then check into that periodically before we start the meeting. Hey guys, I'm the facilitator. Before we start the meeting, just want to make sure that I've got your permission. If we're going off track, I'm going to stop you. How do you need me to stop you? Do I just need to go stop? Do I need to ask a question? What do I need to do? As a facilitator, your job is to continue to have those conversations on an ongoing basis so that you are, capable and able to stop the momentum in that moment. So allocate somebody as the facilitator and make sure that that person's role is very clear. And if you are that person, make sure that you have whatever it is that you need to be able to stop that momentum at any given time. And again, you got to put your focus on not the subject matter that's going on necessarily. You got to keep your eyes and ears open on what are the dynamics of what's happening in this meeting. The second thing goes without saying, you got to have a regular meeting, right? If you are not allocating time to find solutions on a consistent basis, this can't be when somebody recognizes there's a problem. No, it's got to be a regular, consistent, we would say at least weekly, if not daily meetings on a consistent basis like clockwork. If you're the facilitator, part of your job is to make sure that you are keeping us in a consistent meeting fashion. And we would tell you to have a little bit of an agenda. It doesn't have to be very super structured, but it does have to be, hey, here's what we're going to talk about. Here's where we're going to allocate this many minutes to, what's happened in the past week and what we need to accomplish in the coming week, and lay it out in those terminologies. The other thing I would do is this. When you have that consistent meeting set forth, in addition to making sure that it happens on a regular basis, make sure that you're ending that meeting with what are the things that are working. So you need to allocate 10 minutes at the end of the meeting. Here are the things that are working. Let's acknowledge the people that are making those things work. By the way, the things that are working are not the results. Those are the symptoms of the things that are working. So the acknowledging part needs to be on the things that are making the results work. So we're talking about stop discussing, start finding solutions. Number 1, you got to allocate a facilitator who's going to run your meetings. Number 2, you got to have consistent meetings, and those meetings have to be structured just like we said. Number 3, you got to take a step back and identify what the real problem is. Now, what are we talking about when we say the real problem. Here's what we see on a regular basis. I don't know if it's human nature or if this is just the nature of entrepreneurial businesses, but here's what we find. Most businesses, most teams, most leaders are always focusing on the idea as the thing that's going to get us a solution or the thing that is the problem. The idea is nothing more than an idea. One of my mentors used to say, ideas are like elbows. Everybody's got two. That is not the problem, and it's not the solution. If you're focused on getting to the solution, constantly coming up with new ideas is not going to get you to moving forward. It's not about the idea. It's instead about the things that need to happen to make sure from an implementation standpoint that the idea is being implemented. Think about it this way. If your whole meeting format is based around coming up with a new idea, okay, then the chances are you've had some great ideas in the past. Those ideas haven't worked, not because they were not good ideas. They've not worked because your focus is on coming up with a new idea. Instead of putting the focus on what is the solution that's going to have the idea we came up with actually be implemented. This is a people focus. This is not a do focus. This is where you have to shift over to the people aspects of it. 100% of the time, Mr. Producer, mark my words, I said this in 2019, okay? 100% of the time that you're not reaching success in a particular area of your business, 100% of the time, it has nothing to do with the idea. Think about it. When somebody brings an idea to the table, everybody's kind of, filtering it through, properly vetting it. So the chances are, if you come out of that meeting with an idea, it's a great idea. If it doesn't work, it's not because it's a bad idea. And you don't need to allow your meeting to have any time spent on generating another idea. Instead, look into what is the situation from a people standpoint. Comfort zone issues, beliefs, right? What we think is possible, what we think, our clientele will handle. Those are the things that are preventing the ideas from being implemented on a regular basis. And your solutions need to be focused on the real problem and the real solution. And the real problem and the real solution is always people-based. It's those things that are preventing the implementation of the idea that you've already come up with from taking shape. And that number 3 is probably the most important thing, because what we're talking about here is stop discussing and start finding solutions. Number 1 is allocate somebody to facilitate the meetings. Number 2 is get a consistent meeting format. Again, we would say weekly, if not daily, and make sure that those are happening on a regular basis. If you've got those 2 things in place, but you end up not identifying what the real problem is and therefore coming up with a real solution, which is number 3, then all of this is for naught. And number 3 specifically is this. You have to take a step back and identify what the real problem and what the real solution to that problem truly is. And 100% of the time, that's not generating a new idea. 100% of the time, that's shifting the focus to the people aspects. What are the people aspects, things that are preventing the previous idea from fully being implemented? And get ready, because those are things that are absolutely revolving around the tough conversations, right? The people on your team. Where are their comfort zones? What are they viewing as painful? What are they viewing as pleasurable? How are they defining what a good job looks like, right? What do I think we're capable of? What are the beliefs that are holding me back? These are all the things that are preventing the previously generated good ideas from taking shape and being implemented minute by minute, hour by hour, and day by day. So if you will focus on those 3 things, allocate a great facilitator who's paying attention to those dynamics. Make sure, number 2, that you have a consistent meeting on a regular basis. And number 3, make sure that the topic is about the real problem and coming up with the real solution, and that's always people-oriented. If you'll do that, you won't be like Dr. John over here. All of your meetings instead will be solution-oriented, solution-based. And what you'll find is this week is better than last week. Next week is better than this week. And in 4 weeks, you've got a completely different culture with constant forward motion. Everybody on your team feels it. And that, my friends, at the end of the day, is what's going to have you with happier clients, better results, making more money, and enjoying the ride. And that's what it is that all of us here at the Crabtree Group want for you. If you need some help, reach out to us. You can find us at thecrabtreegroup.com. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on this channel. You can find us on, where else, Mr. Producer?
Instagram and Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook. Reach out to us. We're really happy to help. I'm Sean, and thanks for joining me on Growth Profits. Have a great week.